always are interested in hearing what he has to say for us. So, without further ado, Mr. Billy Byrd.
Good afternoon. Thank y'all for having us. I do appreciate the opportunity. I know Ms. Gage reached out to me yesterday afternoon. We're actually in the middle of a trial, not a criminal trial that you're most accustomed with. Our office also handles Child Protective Services and represents the State Department. And we're in a removal suit trying to remove some children from some parents that can't seem to stay away from illegal drugs and harmful things that they place the kids in. And so we're actually in the process of asking the jury to terminate their parental rights, and it's come to that point. Now, when it gets to that point, that's not what I'm going to talk about, but just so you know, it gets to that point, there's been a lot, and sometimes too many, to be quite honest, opportunities given to try to restore the family unit, because that's the goal, to keep the family together. Sometimes that just, people will not adhere to rules and laws, and they won't allow that to happen. And so it gets to the point where we're in a trial, it's really bad. So, and that's what the process we're in. We picked the jury yesterday, started evidence, and we'll be in trial for at least through tomorrow on that. So I didn't have a whole lot prepared today. I'll open questions at the end to give you an opportunity. So I thought I would talk to you a little bit about some new laws that went into effect recently. With our legislature having met, and most of these went into effect in September of last year. And we were asked to come to 2 different school districts in our county to talk to some of our young people about the new laws. These are strictly directed to minors. Of course, when you're talking to minor kids, you have to use appropriate language, although those kids know very well what you're talking about at the high school level. And we've actually gone to different campuses within Gilmer. I know Mr. Albritton is here. We've been invited there, and we actually put a program together one night for parents also to know the dangers of cell phones and electronic devices that are used inappropriately. So when the legislature is kind of like when you get to CPS trial. If you're in a CPS trial trying to take kids away from parents, you know it's bad. When the legislature, they pass all sorts of laws. Obviously, this has become a problem in the state, and that's why these laws now exist, involving minor children. And these laws were directed to minors. In this particular case, minors are defined as someone under the age of 18. And minor children that use their cell phones or tablets or other electronic devices to transmit nude, semi-nude, or sexually suggestive photographs of themselves or videos are now committing a crime in the state of Texas. So one of the things we talked about with our young people, sometimes you receive, everybody's on Snapchat, and I don't know, maybe not here, but a lot of kids, young people have Snapchat. Snapchat's lied to everybody. Snapchat told everybody if you send it by Snapchat, parents can't find it and it goes away in 10 seconds or less. It's a lie. Snapchat lied. We can recover those things, and what happens on the other end is somebody takes a picture of that image that's sent. Now they have it, and they're in possession of it. So someone under the age of 18 that produces these types of images, meaning they are actually the one taking the photograph or video, they've committed a crime. If they promote it, send it through a Snapchat streak. That's what our young people like to, you got to know all the lingo with young people. And I'm a youth director too, so I really try to stay in touch with my kids. But they'll talk about streaking. One night I was on church fan, I heard streaking. I'm like, what in the world? I about had a wreck. Well, I learned something on that church trip about Snapchat and streaking. And they will get this going amongst one another. And these images go very quickly. If I had everyone's number in my phone, and I have some of you, but if I send a mass text, as you know, everyone's going to get that instantaneously. It's no different than these images that we're talking about. So these images are sent out, and somebody could receive it on the other end who didn't solicit it. Okay? Now here's what the law says they need to do. And this is what I told the kids. You need to go report it to a teacher, counselor, principal, administrator, parent, if you're at home, you need to report it to an adult. Then you need to dispose, delete, and get rid of that image immediately. If you keep it on your phone and you receive it unsolicited, and it's another minor, someone under the age of 18, that's nude, semi-nude, or in a sexually provocative position, and you possess it on your phone, and you don't dispose of it and get rid of it, under our laws in the state of Texas now, you are in the commission of a crime by keeping it. And you bear with me, that's not showing it, it's not sending it or forwarding it to anyone else. The fact that you have it on your phone or tablet, whatever it may be, you are committing an offense. So what we did, we told the young people, unsolicited things, images like that, which happens, believe it or not, that happens quite often. Report it, dispose of it, you're fine. Keeping it, you could have problems down the road. So that's one way. Obviously, the person who's promoting it. Now, that doesn't always mean forwarding that like a text message chain or forwarding it through a social media application. Promoting it could be sitting around the lunchroom and your buddies are sitting around and you show, hey, look at this. Look at this underage 18-year-old minor and look at what she looks like or he looks like, because it works both ways. Don't be fooled. It does work both ways. You are in the act of promoting and showing it. You're not forwarding it, manually sending it, but by promoting and showing it around the lunchroom or the locker room before football practice. This is an act of promotion. I'm not going to say the school district, not Gilmer, but we currently have a case in my office right now involving this same situation of promotion. That is a felony offense. That young man happens to be 17, and when you are 17 for criminal prosecution for the criminal laws, you are an adult. Now remember, this law says anyone under the age of 18 who commits this act commits a crime, but for criminal prosecution, if you're 17, you're considered an adult. At the age of 10 up to 16, you are a juvenile. You can still be prosecuted and charged, but you would be handled in the juvenile justice system, which is different than the criminal justice system. This young man happens to be 17, and that is a case that we're dealing with right now. And it won't be the last one. It just won't, unfortunately. There will be more that come. And a lot of it goes unreported, but through education, much more, we're seeing it much more being talked about and discussed. So this is one thing that has now become a new law in our state, and it is a felony offense. The other law I wanted to share with you, and it's been commonly referred to in the media as the revenge porn statute. You have two minors under the age of 18 that engage in adult activities, and that is recorded. Well, then there's a breakup. Now, this can go for minors or adults, by the way. This applies to adults. And there's a divorce. That's most often when we're seeing these things happen. Two parties decide they're no longer going to be married, and they have adult material, and the other starts threatening, making threats that if you don't do certain things, then this will go out in social media, or I will show people. I will send it to your boss at work. That is also a felony offense in the state of Texas. Unfortunately, that applies to minor kids because that happens as well, unfortunately. But it also applies to adults now in this new statute, which is called the revenge porn statute. That's how we refer to it, and it has a fancy name, but it's the threat of promotion of a private event between two adults or minors that were consenting at the time. It is a threatening manner of, if you don't do this, or if you don't pay me money, or if you don't get back and be my girlfriend or my wife again, I'm going to show everybody these things I have of you. That is a felony offense in the state of Texas now. So there was, for obvious reasons, these things have come up. I do have cases like that in my office. And as I shared with you, usually with the adults, it is during the course of divorce. As you know, everything goes bad. The wheels come off the cart, and it's a free-for-all. And everybody wants to get the upper hand and get leverage. And one way that leverage was gained in the past was through these types of pictures and videos. And now, the family lawyers who are representing the parties, then they're showing up at the DA's offices across the state saying, hey, we want to file a formal complaint because the other party is threatening to send out these images, or they actually did send out the images. They'll create a fake Facebook, usually it's a fake Facebook account, they'll make up somebody, put a picture of Mr. T or somebody on the cover shot, and then they're promoting pornography that was produced consensually by adults, but they're sending it out to harm the other person. We had a case recently, a couple years ago, involving the same thing. There were multiple fake social media accounts that were made. It was really amazing the amount of time this person spent creating these fake accounts and promoting private images and sending it out for people to see and harming the other person. So we shared with our young people, number one, in our schools, if you get this unsolicited, as I told you, get rid of it. If you promote it and you show somebody, if you have it, don't get rid of it, you're committing an offense. You are committing a felony crime in the state of Texas now by having it on your phone, not showing it to anyone. The law is that strict if you have it on that device. Now, I told everyone the only image you want to send is something that you want to see, that we wouldn't have a problem hanging in the hallways of our school and everybody walking by looking at it. If you're going to send a picture, it better be one of those types of pictures. If you can't hang it on the wall in the hallway for everybody to pass by and see, that's not something you need to be sending or doing. And that was the best way I could illustrate it to our young people that way. And I think everybody can understand. I know everyone in this room can understand, and I believe all the young people that we talked to understood, I hope. Like I said, after that, then we got a case, but it was unrelated to one of the districts we had gone and made our presentation to. And we handled the boys separately from the girls, because those are touchy subjects. I mean, that's very, I'm not comfortable talking about those types of matters, but unfortunately they have to be discussed in an appropriate way or the best way possible so that these young people know the dangers. And so as parents or grandparents, and all these kids have fun, it was amazing to go to 4th grade, who's got a phone? Everybody raised their hand. They've got nicer phones than I do. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Our oldest is in 3rd grade, and I know that there's a couple that have some phones there, and I've told mine, you're never getting a phone, ever. He's not going to get to do, they're not going to get to do a lot of things because of Daddy being a prosecutor. I know too much, and I know too many dangers that are out there in the world. So that's bad. But that was kind of a short presentation to you. We put a PowerPoint presentation together for our young people and showed them in our school. Obviously nothing inappropriate, but showing them the law and the effects and how this can affect them for the rest of their life. Because you get charged with a felony, as you know, that stays with you forever. It never goes away. And that's going to affect future college dreams, employment opportunities. It's going to have an effect. And young people, I tell my kids this all the time, when you're young, you think, you're not thinking, when I'm 30, what's my life going to be like, or when I'm 40. Young people don't think that way. They're thinking that, I'm here, I can't wait to graduate. And I tell them all the time, you're going to wish you could go back after you walk across that stage and get that diploma. But that's what their focus is on. And they don't think long term. And I try every chance I get to try to get our young people to think long term impacts of the decisions today, especially in this day and time. When some of us were younger, things that we did, thank goodness, people didn't have pictures of that kind of stuff and images. I mean, thank goodness. I mean, think back about it. But now it's a different world. And everyone's got one. Even when you don't think they're watching you or recording you, they are, or they could be. And that stuff never goes away. The idea that and we can get things pulled up, and we do this often in our criminal cases, we're able to recover things that people think are gone. They think, well, I'm going to restore it to factory settings before the police get it, and I'll be good. Now, that cloud out there, which is storing those things, it can be penetrated, and we can obtain things. Not all the time, but a lot of times we can. Does anyone have any questions about anything? Yes, sir.
What kind of response are you getting from the students on this presentation?
The response is everyone's taking out their phone, hitting delete. No, it was positive. I will tell you this, Mr. Hartman. It encouraged me that when we would finish, there would be a long line of young people wanting to ask questions, and they were really good questions. Some of them were. It's amazing when you start talking about these things, how people will start feeling more confident knowing that something can occur. Several came up to the side and said, I need to tell you something. And from that, we have worked and developed some cases because of things that they came up and shared with us. It was really amazing. And then others were just concerned, and they had legitimate questions like, well, what if I'm at the beach? And somebody, that's different. Okay, you know, it was good questions though. They were thinking about things. So I thought at Gilmer it was a great response. It was great. All the campuses were very engaged. All were polite and had good questions. I was impressed.
First off, you did a great job. At the beginning of the year, it really helped and told us how much they appreciate the opportunity for the kids to share. But you didn't talk about penalties.
Yes, sir.
What specifically, sex registration or sexual offense registration, is that?
Yes, sir. The law is the promotion is a third-degree felony in the state, and it does come with sex offender registration. Usually that can be a post-10. It's not lifetime, meaning whatever punishment that person receives, that for 10 years when that sentence ends, whether that's prison or a lengthy probated sentence, then there would be registration for 10 years after that as a sex offender with the state. So it's very strict, because normally we think of sex offender registration as a person who's committed an act, something to that effect, where they're a lifetime register and they're on the registration database down at DPS in Austin. But this, you're lumped in to the same group. So it is very strict, very tough. And you're looking at up to 10 years in prison. Yes, sir.
Have you given this this presentation to all the school districts in Upshur County?
No, sir. No, sir, we have not. Gilmer was Mr. Albritton, and Gilmer was the very first ones early on that came to us and asked, and then we started going to different campuses and did it at nighttime. That was very, very helpful, and we've done one other, but that's all.
This is kind of off the record what you're talking about.
Yes, sir.
And this discussion come up between a couple of us the other day.
Over coffee?
No, I don't remember what it was. We were talking about the murder that took place out at 726 and 154 recently. The two that committed murder. The question was, what is the prosecution being used? What are y'all going to aim for in that case?
It's a good question. I can't answer it completely, just because when you're dealing with a capital murder, there's a whole lot that goes into it. When you're dealing with the punishment side of things, the charging, the front side of things, that's the easiest part, which is hard, but that's the easiest part when you're dealing with something like that. You have to consider the person's previous history. I have, basically, to summarize it, I like meat and potatoes, country boy terms. I tell juries this way: if you let them out and they walk to Taco Bell, would they be likely to kill 4 people and need a taco? That's a person that probably is ripe for the death penalty. If it's a person who committed a capital murder offense and you let them out and you never heard from them again, you're not going to be able to check all the boxes. If you can't check the boxes, you're not going to be able to get the death penalty. I'm not saying they won't be convicted of capital murder, but when it comes to the punishment phase of a capital murder death penalty phase, it is very stringent. Some fall into that category. I may tip my hand here. There's one of those that might, based on what I know at this point. Yes, sir.
It's very expensive to pursue the death penalty, isn't it?
It is. Did you know, really, and I want to tell you this, and this is scientifically been proven. Statistically, if you took a person and you placed them in the prison system at 18, Our parole statutes are designed, life sentences are designed on a number of 57.5 years. If they entered at 18, the life expectancy should be 57.5 years roughly, based on the environment, the type of meals and foods. There's a lot of, and the place they're at. So it would cost less money to take an 18-year-old, incarcerate them for the rest of their life. It costs less money to do that than see that the death penalty be imposed and carried out. It's cheaper to incarcerate than use the death penalty. A lot of people don't know that. It's counterintuitive to the way we think, but that's the truth.
But I'm very for being hanging the next morning.
Right. Yeah, I understand.
Along those same lines, you mentioned earlier that a 17-year-old would be tried as an adult.
Yes, sir.
But in the case of a capital murder, can he not be sentenced and tried for the death penalty?
At 17, got to have to be 18 to be eligible for the death penalty, although you would be eligible for criminal prosecution at 17.
Well, yeah, and I bring that up because I just heard this morning that kid that killed the other kids in Santa Fe.
Santa Fe, yes, sir.
They mentioned that he would not be tried or could not be tried and given the death penalty, so
That's
the
right.
phase would be capital, life would,
Out parole.
well, they said he'd be eligible in 40 years.
How old is he? I don't.
17.
He's 17? No, so, well, that incorrect reporting. Because used to, under our laws in the state of Texas, for capital murder, there was an option, either the death penalty or capital life, which meant eligibility at 40. That law no longer exists. So now under our law on capital, there's two options once somebody's convicted: the death penalty or life without parole. That's all in Texas now. The old statute of the 40 years are ineligible. Now, if he is, and I don't know his age, to be honest, I know the event, if he was under 17, you said they reported he was 17. So what I just told
They
you.
said because of his age at 17, that they would not pursue the death penalty.
Correct, because he's not 18, but if he's 16, then he could be looking at a determinate sentencing under juvenile statutes, which would allow him at the age of 40 to be released. So it sounds like somebody's got his date of birth on the reporting mixed up, but that, depending on his age, it depends on where punishment would fall. Yes, sir. But death penalty, no matter what, because he's under 18, not going to be eligible.
Does the county get help from the state as far as the money, or who pays for all this stuff?
Folks in this room, ultimately. If we had, now there is a unique set of funds. If you have a county under population under 50,000, the legislature appropriates some funds through the governor's office to be administered for or distributed for capital prosecution for a county under 50,000 people to assist in the prosecution's cost of trying the case. So it could assist the prosecutors, experts, witnesses, travel, and those types of things. It's not 100%, but it is very helpful. You don't just get to call them up and say, can you send me $100,000? There's a big lengthy process you go through. I've done that in the past and been able to receive those funds. I'm in the process of doing that again as we speak to offset some of the local tax base here. But on the defense side of things, where a very large amount of money is spent in capital punishment or death penalty cases, it does not cover that. It's only for the
What about
prosecution.
change the venue? We got one stuck over here with us. Would we pay for it?
No, sir. The other county is responsible. Yes, sir. It's a good question. So the question was, if they had a change of venue, it came to Upshur County. Upshur County citizens would not foot the bill. It would be the other county transferring that has to pay the cost. Anything else? Well, thank y'all for, I appreciate y'all. Thank you. I apologize, but we're going to run for trial. Thank y'all very much.
Kevin, thank you for being here, especially on such short notice.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
One other little short item of business, I have a couple of name tags here that you finally got.